Jennifer keeps trying to like throw in my face that Margaret like teases. Melissa could be with anybody. Melissa could be with ball parents.
Really?
Yes. But like Jennifer's trying to take that out of context and make it like she's like talking.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl, the Brooke Ashley, and today we are here to discuss The Real Housewives of New Jersey, Season 13, Episode 6. And first things first, this was another great episode. And a quick disclaimer for all my Jennifer Aydin fans, this might not be the recap for you. And I want to let you guys know that ahead of time, nothing is changing over here. So I don't want anybody to get upset and say, oh, Brooke, you're biased. You just don't like her. You're too hard on her. No, I'm not. I'm just giving you guys my clear and honest opinion. That last scene was very telling, and they do not look happy. The way Jennifer was talking, it sounds like she already has one foot out the door and she's fed up. But with all that being said, let's just jump right on into it because you guys already know that we don't have a minute to spare. Now, you guys already know how I feel about the mess between Teresa, Joe, and Melissa. I'm tired of it. So this opening scene with Teresa at therapy, I was like, oh my gosh. But we did learn that growing up, Teresa's father fell out with his brother. I think she said over $200. And because of that, she and Joe didn't grow up with their cousins. So now she goes on to say that she's afraid that history will repeat itself with the next generation. Now, already it seems like there's a wedge between the kids because we learned that while they all went to Antonia's Sweet 16, Antonia didn't go to Melania's Sweet 16.
Every single cousin on my ex Joe's side showed up, and the only one that was missing was Antonia. Sad.
Now, like I told you guys in last week's recap, I didn't believe Antonia when she said that the cousins are all fine. Teresa's girls have made it clear that there is a divide between the cousins. And then finding out that you didn't even show up to Melania's Sweet 16, that's a big deal. And I'm sure that Melania was hurt because they showed the flashback of how close Melania and Antonia were when they were younger. And that really broke my heart because the fact that the drama from the adults has now poisoned the cousins, that's really sad. I thought it was a bit comical for Teresa to tell the therapist that Joe's anger scares her and she can't be around it. And I said, now, Teresa, I've been watching this show since season 1, episode 1. And Teresa has always had a very hot temper. She flipped that table in that finale, so I said, girl, let's not. I'm tired of both Teresa and Joe acting like they're the victims. I was glad to hear the therapist say that moving on might be your only other option, because that's what I've been saying for the longest. You guys clearly don't like each other. Nobody wants to apologize or admit their wrongs, so just move on. Love each other from a distance, because it's a very chaotic and dysfunctional dynamic. And who wants to live like that? So now we jump to two parallel scenes with Margaret and Jenn Fessler and Jennifer Aydin and Bill. So, of course, Jenn Fessler and Margaret are discussing the blow up that happened at Jenn Fessler's brunch. Now, I was surprised at how Jenn Fessler got Margaret together. She was like, Margaret, I love you. You're my friend. But the way you showed your ass at my house was unacceptable. So for all the Margaret and Jenn Fessler haters, you guys can kill that noise about Jenn Fessler's up Margaret's ass, because Jenn Fessler clearly showed that even though Margaret is her friend, she will still call her friend out when she's wrong. So they bring up Dolores' charity baseball game, and Jenn Fessler says when you see her, at least say hi. And Margaret says, absolutely not. I'm not saying anything to her. I'm good. And then Jenn Fessler says, well, that's not nice. Now I said, Jenn Fessler, why are you so pressed to have Margaret and Jenn Aydin talk to each other? They clearly can't stand each other, so why push it? They both said nasty things about each other at your home. So Margaret's doing the right thing by saying, I'm going to ignore her the next time I see her. That's the best route for them to take. I have always thought that Jenn, Aydin, and Margaret are oil and water, and they will never get along. They have been at each other's throats since Jenn Aydin came on this show. They sort of remind me a little bit of Candace and Ashley from Potomac, where we'll see them try to be friends and put the past in the past, but it never works. Well, when it comes to Potomac, Ashley's just straight up evil. And I think that she's jealous of Candace and wants to be Candace. So that's the real reason why they'll never be friends. But again, let's just stay on topic. Let me just focus on Jersey and leave Potomac alone, because we have dealt with Potomac for 5 or 6 months, and I'm tired. But anyhow, now we flip to Jenn and Bill at home, and of course, Jenn is telling Bill about the big blowout that she had with Margaret. So Jenn brings up Margaret calling her a disheveled drug addict, and she's really pissed at that. She's like, "Excuse me, honey, do you see me when you're out here looking like an albino with a wig on?" And I was like, "Jenn, really? How old are you?" And it really blows me how so many of y'all go up for Jenn, and that's fine if you do. I get that we all like different people, but a lot of Jenn's reads fall flat, in my personal opinion. Jenn Aydin just irks me so badly. She really does. And I wanted to like her when she first came on the show. I was like, okay, she seems cool. But the constant bragging, the fact that she's up Teresa's butt 24/7, she's always saying that somebody's jealous of her, when in reality, she's the one who's jealous. I stand by my opinion of thinking that she's jealous of Melissa. And that's the real reason why she had beef with Melissa all those seasons, because she wants to low-key be her. Y'all, I just think that a lot of Jennifer Aydin's antics are very juvenile. And before anybody tries to come for me talking about, oh, well, you go up for Candace and Candace always goes for people's looks and you go up for that, Candace and Jennifer Aydin are in completely different categories when it comes to reads. But Jenn goes on to say that she's not a drug addict and she smokes weed at night after the kids have been put to bed and it's legal. And then she adds that Margaret is always fishing for something negative about her to throw in her face, and how Margaret doesn't realize how damaging that can be to her and her family. Now, Jenn, let's not be so dramatic. Nobody's judging you about smoking weed, and I'm sure your kids smell it when they're sleeping, and they know what it is. And if they didn't know that you do it every night, or almost every night, well, they're gonna know now since the episode has aired and you just said it. But again, you wanna blame all your life's troubles on Margaret, and it's so annoying. You smoke a little weed here and there. Okay, girl, that's fine. We don't care. Nobody's judging you. So Jenn continues on by saying that she was shocked that Jenn Fessler didn't find anything bad about Margaret's behavior. And she says, yeah, she kicked me out of her house and I was like, yeah, I want to go anyhow. And then she goes on to say that all the other women are afraid of Margaret because Margaret probably has dirt on all of them, and that's why they allow her to do what she does. Now, let me just stop right here. Do I think that Margaret has some tea on people? Yes. Do I think that Margaret is a gossip? Yes. But do I look at her as this bully? No. I don't know why anybody would be afraid of Margaret. Margaret does not give me those vibes. Also, they all have dirt on each other. People and blogs all come to them with tea about the other one. So for them to act like, well, Margaret knows all this stuff about everybody, and that's why they're all afraid of her, and she's a better friend than she is an enemy, she'll go out of her way to destroy you. I'm like, but you guys are all the same way. If they should be afraid of anybody on this show, it should be Teresa. Teresa is the OG. She's Andy's favorite. She has a very volatile temper. She's very quick to get people to ice somebody out. So if anybody should be pegged as the bully or somebody to be afraid of, it would be Teresa, in my opinion, over Margaret. You don't have to like Margaret, but let's not lie and exaggerate and act like Margaret is somebody to be so afraid of. I think what makes Margaret so powerful is that the minute Margaret got on this show, she aired out her own tea. She said, no, nobody else is going to reveal anything. I'm going to tell it all. And that's the best way to do it. And because Jenn Aydin's mess got revealed by Margaret, now Jenn Aydin wants to act like Margaret's so scary and just so dangerous, when it's like, no, it's really not that she's a bully or dangerous. It's just that Margaret is coming from a place of power since she already laid out her hand. Again, just my perspective, just my opinion, but I don't look at Margaret as this bully. I just don't. I don't see it. So now we jump to the next scene with Rachel Fuda and her husband, Joe and Melissa, and Frank and his girlfriend Brittany all having a date night. It was really cute because they all went to the batting cages to get ready for Dolores' baseball charity game, and they all did a terrible job. I said, yeah, please don't quit your day jobs because you guys cannot play. Now, here's where I got annoyed. And Frank, the way I'm about to go in on you because you tried it. Frank makes a joke about how the charity baseball game is going to be the first time that him and Paulie have been in the same place together. So you have Joe and Melissa trying to console Frank because he's upset about it. And so Melissa says, well, Paulie's just different from David. He's not as warm as David is. So now Joe chimes in and says, well, it's different because with David, he was never there for her, which led you to be there for her. And now with Paulie, he's always there. And that's why you don't see her. And I was thinking, well, that's what it should be. Why is this a surprise to anybody? Did you guys all want Dolores to be with David all that time, who wasn't even around? Paulie is acting the way a man should act when he's in love with a woman. So I don't know why there's all this confusion about, oh, well, she's always with him, as she should be. That's her man. Frank goes on to say that their relationship has affected their family dynamic and it's a shame. I said, how is it a shame? Was it a shame when your kids were babies and you and Dolores were just married and you were cheating on her and not coming home? That didn't mess up the family dynamic? Only when you guys have been divorced for over 20 years and she finally has a man who wants to be with her, and because she's not there at your beck and call, now that's shifted the family dynamic? What are you saying? And when Frank went on with the sob stories talking about, I always consider myself to be a great father, even though I was a terrible husband to Dolores, and my biggest regret is not making it work with me and Dolores. Now I said, hold on right there, Frank. Because Dolores spilled your tea back in season 7 or season 8. She spoke about the husband that you were. Not only were you cheating, but you were also calling her out her name. And she also said that you weren't a good father because you weren't around when the kids were babies. Again, this is coming from Dolores when she first joined the show. Dolores had said that you couldn't be bothered with changing diapers and you came back around when the kids were self-sufficient. Frank is really pissing me off because the fact that you did Dolores so dirty while you were married, and you've been in a relationship with Brittany for, I think, 3 or 4 years? You have the audacity to be pressed about Dolores finding love and finding happiness again after all these years. And all I have to say to you is, how dare you? So you really thought that this dynamic was gonna last your whole entire life? Dolores was going to be up under you and you guys would act like you're this couple, but you just don't have sex? And if I were Dolores, I would be cursing you out after every episode. Because again, how dare you try to act like I'm at fault for moving on and living my life? And let's be real, the only reason why Frank is feeling this way, because he knows that his spot is in jeopardy if Paulie's in the picture. Because the Jersey husbands are the only husbands who get paid. And if Paulie's in, then that means that Frank might be out. And we know that Frank needs every single dollar because he got disbarred. I don't know if he's still doing construction, but what I do know is that he relies on that Bravo check. So it was really funny because at one point, Joe was in the batting cage and Melissa made a joke. She was like, oh, let me see what you can do, Joe. Since Margaret told me that I could have had a ball player, well, let me see your skills. So they start laughing about that. And then, of course, Melissa brings up the drama between Margaret and Jen Aiden and how Jen's going around saying that Margaret is trying to break up her and Joe's marriage. So Melissa makes it clear that that's not the case at all, and how Jenn is reaching because she can't stand Margaret. And that's exactly what Jen Aiden is doing. We all know that Jenn also holds grudges, and along with that, she will do anything to twist whatever Margaret says. And also, most women hype their friends up like that. Like, girl, you look good. Don't even worry about him. If he wants to act up, you can find somebody better. So for Jen Aiden to act like Margaret's just trying to, break up people's happy homes, and who does that? It's like, can you stop, please? So Melissa goes on to say that Jen Aiden is determined to take Margaret down, and she's on this revenge tour since Margaret outed Bill's affair last year. And then she says that she wants no parts of it. So now Rachel Fuda interjects, and she's like, well, I have some tea, because when I was at Danielle's daughter's birthday party the other day, Teresa and Jen Aiden warned me about Margaret. So Melissa's like, wait, what? What did they say? So Rachel Fuda says, they told me to keep my eyes out. And then Teresa told me that you'd rather have Margaret as your friend than as an enemy. So now Melissa's like, I knew it. I knew that it was so fake. When Teresa went to Margaret at my skating party, that was just so fake. She hates Margaret, and so does Jen. They're both fake, and I can't get with this fake parade. Now, Melissa, I need to get on you quickly, because a lot of you guys accuse me of being partial to Melissa, and that's really not the case. I feel like Melissa does not have anything to talk about other than Teresa. And Melissa, you have been coasting now for several seasons without a concrete storyline. And I think that Melissa and Joe's time on this show might be coming to an end, because every single scene they're talking about Teresa in some shape, way, or form, and I'm tired. Then you have Melissa saying that Louis charming, and he's also manipulating Teresa into making up with Margaret, since Margaret has dirt on everybody. Again, I do need Melissa to find something else to talk about, because it just seems like every scene, it always relates back to Teresa and Louis. And I understand that you guys are beefing, you don't get along, but we want to see more than just you guys talking about them all the time. But you have Rachel saying that nobody's going to influence her or sway her opinion about anybody, and that she's a great judge of character, and she'll make her own opinions about people, but she's not going to allow Jen Aiden or Teresa to sway her views. Now, while that's great, I also have to be honest, Rachel Fuda, we are 6 episodes in, and you're not giving what the other girls said you were supposed to have gave, in the words of Rolling Ray. No shade, sis, but Rachel Fuda is a bit boring. And every time she comes on, I'm like, girl, give me something. I don't know if you're nervous, it's those first season jitters. I'm gonna give you another 2 or 3 episodes to get it together. Now it's the day of Dolores' charity baseball game, and everybody is getting ready in the dressing room. Dolores is there, obviously. You have Frank and his girlfriend there. Margaret's there. Danielle's there. Rachel Fuda and her man, Jackie and Evan. And of course, Danielle brings up the whole mess between Jen Aiden and Margaret at Jenn Fessler's house. So Margaret says, look, when I fight with somebody, we make up and I feel like, okay, we can move forward. But when it comes to Jen, the girl's crazy. She's over here talking about, I'm trying to break people's marriages up, when all I told Melissa is, you're a gorgeous girl, and if you and Joe divorce, you can go and get yourself anybody that you want, a ball player, anybody. That's all I said. And me and Melissa are like this, so I'll say it to her face any time of the day. So now you have Danielle defending Jen Aiden, and she says, Margaret, this is very hard for me to hear because I really like Jen Aiden. She's my friend. Now I said, Danielle, it is so obvious what you're doing. You clearly want to be against Margaret because the popular girls are against Margaret. And we all know that you're super close to Teresa. Teresa is the OG on this franchise. She's the girl that everybody wants to align themselves with. And then you have Jen Aiden as her sidekick. You want to get in good with both of them. So because they don't like Margaret, Now you want to have a problem with Margaret because for you to say, well, that's hard for me to hear because I like Jen Aydin and we're good friends. Baby, you just met Jen Aydin 5 episodes ago. You're not that close. So for you to act like, well, that's just your close friend, I mean, enough, girl. It's clear that you want to pick sides and you don't want to be on Margaret's side, and just say that. So Margaret makes it clear that she's not trying to sway Danielle's opinion about Jen Aydin. She's like, if you want to like her, that's fine. I'm not saying don't. I'm just telling you how I feel about things. So at this point, what was said about Margaret at Danielle's daughter's birthday party gets brought up, and Margaret's pissed. She's like, wait, what? Teresa's mad at me? I thought that we were okay. Then she says that there is no worse enemy than Teresa. So for Teresa to say that, that's a joke. And Margaret is 110% correct because Teresa's attitude when she's mad at you, and for all my Teresa fans out there, let's not pretend. Let's call a spade a spade. Your fave has a very nasty temper, and she's very aggressive, and she makes it clear that she wants to ice somebody out the group when she's angry at them.
No. And you're gonna always get it again and again and again.
Now, when Jen and Bill arrived, Margaret swore that she wasn't going to say anything to Jen, but she ends up hugging Bill, and then she tries to say, hi, Jen, how are you? And Jen ignores her completely. And I said, Margaret, if I were you, I would not have said anything to Jen. I would have paid her dust. Then we have Melissa and Joe arrive with their son, Joey Jr., and now Teresa, Louie, Gia, Melania, and Teresa's stepson all arrive. And it's a bit awkward between Joe seeing his sister and his nieces. And at one point it looked like Joe went into the bathroom, and I was like, Joe, just say hi to your sister and your nieces. Why is that so hard? Like, stop making things more difficult than they have to be. I understand that you guys aren't in the best place, but at least try to make things easier by saying hello, giving her a hug, not running off. I mean, yes, he eventually did go back and give her a hug. He gave Melania and Gia a hug. He greeted Louie and Louie's son, but it was like at first he didn't want to do that. And again, I understand that it's tense, but just try to be cordial, try to put on a happy face. So now the game starts, they're all out on the field, and I have to say, Dolores really brings a crowd because the people were out to see them. So as the game is going on, we see Rachel Fuda and Jen Aydin having a conversation, and Rachel Fuda brings up Jen Aydin's youngest daughter, Olivia. So she's like, oh girl, by the way, your youngest daughter is so cute. She's just so sweet, but she broke my heart because she was telling me that she wanted to be a therapist for couples. Did you know that? So now Jen Aydin is like, wait, what? She said that? That really breaks my heart because before she wanted to be a Broadway star, she wanted to be on stage singing and dancing, and now to hear this, I'm really upset. So my whole thing was, Rachel, why would you bring this up at a charity baseball game? You couldn't have called Jen up. You couldn't have said, hey girl, let's go out to lunch and then bring this up. Why are you going to do this right here? I felt like this was not the time or the place to have that conversation. But Jen Aydin goes on to say that she's really upset to hear this news, and this was the main reason why she did not want to tell her kids because it would affect them. So then she says, I just can't let this go. And I said, but once again, Jen, the only person that deserves your anger is Bill, because Bill should have never stepped out. If Bill had not done this, you wouldn't have had to worry about Margaret or anybody else in town knowing your business. So now we cut to a quick conversation with Dolores, Frank, Melissa, and Joe talking, and Frank makes a joke about Paulie not being at the game, and Dolores clears it up. She says, no, Paulie had heart surgery, that's why he's not here. So now you have Joe talking about, you know, Dolores, my friend over here is really sad because you're never here for him. And I was like, again, how dare y'all try to act like Frank is the victim? Frank is a grown-ass man with a girlfriend. He will be okay if Dolores is not there to talk to him 24/7. When he had Dolores, he fumbled. He was out cheating on her. It's over and done with. Leave Dolores alone. Then you have Frank talking about, yeah, Dolores, because every time I call you, you can't call me back. I text you and you tell me that you'll call me later. And it's like, I just miss you. And I was crying about it the other day. And if I were Dolores, I would have walked away. I would have said, y'all, stop playing with me. I'm not doing this. I would have cursed Frank out, to be very honest with you. Like, Frank, you really have the sheer audacity. We are not together anymore. Let it go. I just don't understand why you are trying to guilt trip this woman for having a boyfriend. Everybody sounds crazy. And then Melissa talking about, oh, I just feel like crying right now. This is so sad. What's going on between the two of you? I was like, are you insane? What's wrong with everybody right now? Y'all are really doing the most for no reason. Then we see Teresa and Gia talking to Joey Jr., and Gia says that she's upset because she feels like her aunt and uncle are purposely trying to put a wedge between her and her cousins. Now, Gia, you might be right about that, but either way, you're grown now. You're what, 21, 22? If you want to see them, call them up and say, hey, I want to pick you guys up. I have a car. I'm going to come and get you guys on, Friday or Saturday. Let's go out to lunch. Let's go out to dinner. And let's have some time together as cousins. Don't allow what you think your aunt and uncle are doing to get in the way of you having a relationship with your cousins. Just my opinion. But the game ends and they won. They actually beat the doctors this year, and we find out that they raised $200,000 and they beat the goal because last year they had raised $180,000. And I have to say, shout out to Dolores because that's a really fabulous way to raise money for charity. But now we end the episode with Jenn and Bill going to marriage counseling, and you could see that Bill was not excited to be there at all. He looked like he was there against his will. Now, while they're filling out the paperwork, Jenn says that Bill has always been against therapy and marriage counseling, but ever since she told him what Olivia told Rachel Fuda, he was really upset and he felt ashamed, and he finally agreed to go to counseling with her. But I thought it was interesting when Jenn told Bill, if you have any issues that you want to get off your chest about me, you know you can say it, right? And he was like, uh-huh. And I said, now, Jenn, why are you lying? Because every time Bill says anything to you, you get upset, you get defensive, you start yelling and screaming. So you obviously don't want to hear the truth about yourself. So why even say that? If it's not what you want to hear, you don't want to hear it. So the therapist wants to know, why are they both here? Jenn tells the whole story about how 11 years ago, Bill cheated on her while she was pregnant with their fourth child. She says that they never spoke about it. She just buried it and moved on. But since a woman in their social group, i.e. Margaret, found out about the affair and told everybody, it brought up the memories again, and now Jenn is upset, reliving the hurt and the pain all over again. So she goes on to say that her and Bill told the kids, and how their youngest daughter, Olivia, found out about the affair on TikTok. So she says that Olivia was asking her if all men cheat, and all she could tell her was, people make mistakes. Then she brings up that she's upset at hearing that her youngest daughter now wants to be a love therapist because of the infidelity. So she says that every time me and Bill bicker or argue about something, Olivia will say to them, guys, just kiss, stop arguing, and it's clearly affecting her. So now you have the therapist asking Bill how he feels about the affair becoming public, and Bill says that it sucks, especially because now the kids view Jenn as the perfect parent, and he's not. And then he goes on to say that he can't discipline the kids or be hard on them because of the infidelity. So since they're on the topic of the kids, Jenn brings up that the child to parent ratio is 5-1. So she goes on to say that she's pretty much the active parent and Bill does nothing. She's angry because every time Bill comes home, he goes straight to the pool house, doesn't even come in for dinner, and she's upset about that. So Bill says that it's because his job is 24/7 stress. And when I heard that, I was like, yeah, I'd be pissed too. Because Bill, I understand that your job is high stress. I understand that you work long hours, and yes, you have the right to want to decompress. But think about how your wife feels. She's with those kids 24/7. I'm sure she wants a break at times. The fact that you don't even go in to greet them, you go right into the pool house and you're there for 3 or 4 hours, that's unacceptable. And no shade to anybody, but I feel like a lot of these men, they like the image of being a parent and being a father and having kids, but they don't really want to be a parent. That's just really sad to me. I grew up where my dad, he loved being a dad. Like, when he got home, he was a lawyer. That's a very high-stress job. And when he got home, he couldn't wait to play with us and have dinner with us. He loved being a father. And my heart really goes out to women who are married to men, and they're like, I honestly feel like a single parent because, yes, my husband's in the house, but he doesn't do anything. That's really sad. And I hope that Bill does get it together because I understand that, yes, you have a high-stress job, but that's no excuse to not want to spend time with your family. So at this point, Bill is quiet. The therapist points that out. And Jenn says that Bill is always quiet every time it's a hard conversation. He was quiet when he cheated. He's quiet now. All he wants to do is sweep our problems under the rug. And I was thinking, that's a very sad marriage. The fact that you can't even talk to your spouse because they just shut down like that, that's sad. And I see why Jenn is so frustrated. And for everybody who kept saying, you're too hard on Jenn and Bill, their marriage is just fine. Where? Where is it just fine at? I'll wait. Because you could tell that Jenn was getting angrier and angrier as she spoke. Because she said, I feel like he's the boss and I am not his subordinate, I'm his equal. And then when she went on to say that she's fed up, she can't take it anymore, and he has to meet her halfway or else she'll be done, I said, does that sound like a happy wife to you? Do they look like a happy couple to you?
No.
Because I didn't see a happy couple right there. Bill seems like he's checked out. Jenn seems like she's at her wit's end and she wants out. And Jenn, I have to clock you yet again because just last week you were saying that Margaret is jealous of you, how you have the dream life, you have the dream family, you and Bill are living the dream. And how Margaret wants to break up a happy home, but now here you are in this episode complaining and saying that you're ready to go if Bill can't step it up and give you some love and affection. Which one is it? And the therapist could see that they're unhappy because she made it clear that they both needed another session. And Bill was like, great. I know Bill is pissed that all their problems are on Front Street like this. But that's what happens when you sign up to be on The Real Housewives. They were better off pulling a Margaret and bringing up all the affair mess when they first came on this show instead of trying to hide it. Because it seems like a lot of that old resentment and anger is coming right back up. Like I've been saying, I think that Jenn is still angry at Bill over that affair. I would be too, but you guys know me. I already told you. Cheating is a deal breaker for me. So if I were Jenn 11 years ago, I would have said, shout out to everybody, I have fun.
Oh! Shout out to everybody, I had fun.
I gotta be good.
But y'all, this was a great episode. I thoroughly enjoyed myself. Thank you all for watching my recap. I hope you all enjoyed. And you guys already know what to do. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you all later. Bye.